Shalom, this is Daniel with Blessed Israel Network, and this is another episode of Eye on Israel. Now, normally I don't entitle them, but I'm going to give this one a title, and I'm calling this one Imprisoned in Our Own Country. Yes, you heard me right, imprisoned in our own country. What do I mean? Well, some of you have been to Israel, and some of you have not, and there is a lot that many people, even that have come to Israel, are not aware of what life is like and certain conditions and so on a day in, day out basis here in Israel. So today in this episode, I'm going to share something with you that you may or may not know. We have in what's known as Israel that most of the world recognizes, and when I say that, I'm not referring to biblical Israel, because biblical Israel includes all of Judea, Samaria, and the Galilee, the Golan Heights, the Gaza Strip, and what have you. But these days, of course, the so-called West Bank, which is really biblical Judea, Samaria, is pretty much populated by Arabs who call themselves Palestinians, which is a made-up name because they're really Arabs. Palestinians was made up by Yasser Arafat many years ago because he wanted to give those Arabs who wanted to, for the most part, not all, but for the most part, want to destroy Israel in 1967 and also in 1948, wanted to give them a unique name, so hopefully the world would buy into giving them a homeland. Well, so far that hasn't happened, but most of the world seems to believe that those so-called Palestinians need a homeland. It's not biblically appropriate, and the whole narrative is made up. That's a story for another day. But what I'm referring to is the Israel that most of the world recognizes, which is west of the so-called Green Line, west of the Jordan River, where you've got, let's call them pre-67 lines for lack of better purpose. So hopefully you know what I mean. Now, what I'm referring to is a situation where we actually are impacted almost on a daily basis by things that the Arab population in Israel does. Now, I don't want to get off on the wrong discourse here, and I want to say up front that a vast majority of the Arabs who live within formal Israel, Israel proper, if you will, just want to make a living. They're not fanatics and so on, and I'm not talking about these particular Arabs. However, it would be naive if I did not acknowledge that there is a significant percentage of the Arab citizens that live in Israel that are not friendly towards Israel, do not like the Jewish people, and just as soon see the Jewish state of Israel disappear and replaced by an Arab state, and many of them have gotten quite radicalized. So what do I mean when I say imprisoned in our own country? Well, we have a friend whose name I'm not going to mention, and he lives about 30 to 40 minutes away from us, which is not all that far. I mean, for those of you who live in the San Francisco area, it's basically like driving from San Francisco down to Palo Alto. For those of you who live in Texas, it's basically like driving from Dallas, a little bit further than from Dallas to Fort Worth. And anyways, 30 to 40 minute drive. We wanted to go see this friend today. It happens to be a Friday while I'm recording this. And he called us last night and said, "You better not come." And we said, "Why?" Well, because in the area where he lives, and I'm going to show you on a map, he is in an area that is overwhelmingly populated by Arabs. Now, let me hold this up right here and show this to you. And it's upside down. All right, you see right here where the yellow is? That is where we live in Haifa, all right, on the Mediterranean, right here. And you see this other arrow over here? That points to the exact location where our friend lives. And you see all that green, okay, around where that arrow is pointing to? All of those are Arab-dominated towns and villages. All right, now I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to actually put this directly on the screen so you can see it for yourself and maybe freeze frame it later. So I'm going to put it on the screen right now. Okay, hopefully you saw that. And here's the situation. We wanted to go visit our friend who lives in this heavily populated area that is, as I said, heavily populated by Arabs. He called us and said the Arabs are demonstrating all over his area. The roads are closed. If you try to come, you might get attacked. Okay, thanks for the warning. So why are they demonstrating? Why are the roads closed? He happens to live, because of the fact that he lives in a community that is surrounded by Arab cities, okay? The community that he lives in, which is Jewish, is completely surrounded by a fence and has a guard around it. They have to be protected because the Arabs have been known to do very bad things to Jewish people, okay? And I'm sure you've probably heard about some of the terrorist attacks that have been ongoing on and off for the past few years. It's nothing new. But this is in the middle of what is considered formal Israel. Well, why are they protesting? What's happened? Well, in this particular area where the Arabs dominate the population, the police department has been somewhat reluctant to come into some of these off the main drag small towns because they usually come in groups of 1 or 2, maybe 3 or 4 at the most, and they get attacked by groups of thugs, actual outright criminals that are Arabs, that are actually doing what the mafia used to do back in the old days, where the mafia would literally take control of a town. And you saw movies, you know, like The Godfather or other movies where it showed mafia in New York City and other eastern cities. They literally rob the people blind, threaten them, and do all this criminal activity. Well, this is what the Arab thugs, if you will, are doing to their own people. The Arab punks, thugs, juvenile delinquents, criminals, whatever you want to call them, are vandalizing and robbing their own cities, stores and homes and what have you. Very, very flagrant criminal activity. And the police have been called and are reluctant to come in because when they do, they get attacked. So this is a very hard reality that we face. The police force does not have the resources to be able to designate a large patrol, if you will, to go into each and every Arab town. Now, if there is an acute situation, a fire, or someone has been shot and there's an investigation, this is one thing. But on a day-to-day basis, the 1 and 2 unit police patrols are not willing to go into these towns. And so the Arabs have gone on strike protesting the fact that Jewish police refuse to come into their towns. Now, on one level, I really sympathize with the decent Arab citizens of these towns. They deserve to be protected. The challenge is that these Arab thugs and criminals are so pervasive and so plentiful that the police just simply don't have the manpower to go in. And so now the citizens, if you will, the quote unquote decent citizens mostly, have gone on strike, and they've blocked all the roads. And because of that, of course, they're having conflicts with the thugs who want to be able to do their criminal activity unbridled. They don't want any interruptions and so on. And so you've got real problems. And so the entire area, the roads have been closed. This is why our friend called us and said, please don't come. You will be at risk. And poor friend of ours, he's now stuck, basically imprisoned in his own country, in his own little isolated community, because the Arabs have got everything blocked off and they're demonstrating, throwing rocks and doing all this stuff in the streets. So this is really a sad situation. It's not terribly unusual. I thought I would call your attention to it just to give you an idea of some of the daily issues that we have to deal with here in Israel. It's really a shame. So I entitled this Imprisoned in Our Own Country, because honestly, we cannot go into this area now. There's other places we could try to go, but we don't have the choice to go where we want to go because of what's going on here. And not only do they conduct criminal activity, but they drive like absolute maniacs. We have had more than one situation. We went out to visit this person last week, and on more than one occasion we were on the freeway and they come up behind you with tinted glass on their car so you can't see inside, we're on a freeway, so they're doing 70 miles an hour. They come up right behind you, almost hit the rear end of your car, and basically the message is, move out of my way, I want to get by you. And if you don't, sometimes they go around you and they threaten you and they pull in front of you and cut you off. They think that they own the road, and they're driving as if they're on a racetrack, if you will, and they don't care. They just do it with impunity. It's very bothersome, and it upset us greatly because our lives were literally at risk on more than one occasion because of this insane driving. So it's really a shame, but we would love to be able to get along with all of our Arab population. But unfortunately, this is a very real segment of the Arab population here in Israel that we have no choice but to deal with. And so again, as I say, imprisoned in our own country. And one more look at the map, which again is upside down. And you see us right here in Haifa, and this whole area here with the green is all Arab cities, and our friend lives right there. So it's really a shame that we have to deal with these things. In any case, that's today's message. And if this message or any other messages that we provide bless you, please consider going to our website, blessisraelnetwork.com, and making a donation, a one-time donation or a reoccurring one. You can do that as well. And for those of you who are seeing this message on a contemporary time zone or contemporary time basis, we will be in the U.S. very shortly, and hopefully we'll see some of you very soon. Thanks so much. God bless. And since it's Friday, Shabbat Shalom.